Thank you all for coming. I know it's late in the day, and I know that in many instances you've probably been sitting and listening to someone talk at you. Yeah, a couple of people are shaking their heads. Well, that is not this session. So I'll let you know that you're going to be moving and you're going to be making art. And if that is something that doesn't appeal to you, I'm sorry to hear that. While you may at this point be thinking about that one time where you perhaps were told or began thinking that you were not creative, that's absolutely not true. In this class or this session, there is no bad art. I will just tell you that. So, hi Brenda, come in please. So I am not mic'd in this room. I am mic'd for the video, so if for some reason my voice falls off or you can't hear me, please let me know. But I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled as well to have you join me. So my name is Dustman. I am the head of school at the Montessori School of Maui. I have been there, this is my third year. Prior to that, I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I was the head of a Montessori school for children ages 3 to 12 for 14 years. You can try that, yeah, sure. Prior to that, I was in the public schools and actually was a public Montessori teacher with children ages 6 to 12. And in between all of that, I actually spent 2 years in Qingdao, China, as a principal of an international school toddler through grade 12. It was an international baccalaureate school, but within it was the only accredited Montessori school through the American Montessori Society for children toddler through primary. And my interest in growing empathy stems from doctoral work that I did a number of years ago. And in order to do so, I utilized some arts-based research methodologies to support my own gaining of an understanding of the perceived understanding that children ages 9 to 12 have about empathy. And ultimately, what I'm going to lead you through is some of that work. But what's really terrific, I think, about art for young children, even children ages 9 to 12, to talk about empathy in this very kind of broad, non-tangible action, feeling, art provides them an opportunity to express those ideas where they may not have the words. And it also, as I hope you'll find during our short time together, strengthens connection and relationships. And so that's what I hope to do. So I brought all these art supplies from Maui in my suitcase. And it's all good. And hopefully you'll use it. But of course, the person in charge of my supply room did say, please bring back my box of scissors. So when you borrow some scissors today, please make sure you bring them back. But anyway, any questions before we start? No? Probably haven't heard that question before you start. Anyway, all right, so why is growing empathy and empathic capacities important? So as of 2009, children in the US ranked 20th out of 21 industrialized nations when reviewing statistics of social well-being. As of 2009, the importance placed on morality of individual persons in the United States had fallen dramatically when compared to similar rankings in 1999. And as of 2012, the U.S. ranked 26th in overall child well-being among 29 wealthy nations. So pretty dismal results, I think. We won't get into the political goings-on in the country at this point, but anyway, let's see. So why grow empathic capacities through art? I touched on this a little bit, but the arts simply provide new instruments and a broader palette of investigative and communication tools with which to garner and relay a range of social meanings. So art can be a vehicle and allows children the expression of a depth and complexity of emotion beyond what they can convey in words. And it infuses language, process, forms of literacy, visual, performing arts to give expansive possibilities for children to acquire knowledge. So In terms of making meaning, so I don't know if you stayed and listened to the keynote after lunch. She talked a little bit about art, actually, and the value of it, because children want to understand who they are, and art provides them an opportunity to explore that. So I've been pretty, I've been somewhat affirmed today in my own opinion. I went to Godwin Hegra's talk this morning, and even in that, he was, in terms of trauma-informed schools, talking a little bit, and he showed a video of making origami cranes. And his point was that, we're not just making cranes, but instead he was utilizing those as a vehicle with which, or a catalyst with which to engage children in conversation. That's the goal, that's my goal for you today. So, and hopefully you can take some of these things and or your experience over this next hour back into your classrooms and your schools and share. Okay? Let's see. Drawings in particular can provide children with the potential to tell stories, convey metaphors, and present worldviews. So, really quick, the implications for infusing or including art within your curriculum is because it can provide unique opportunities for teachers and children to engage together in order to expand their connections. So, as I said when I began, there's no bad art here, but certainly in many cases, many children, even young ones, may feel they don't have the capacity or the ability to do good art. So, not to be contradictory of myself, but imagine the value of a young child who doesn't think that they can do good art, observing your art in whatever way, shape, or form, and being able to engage in a conversation to understand what you were feeling or what you were thinking when you created it. It's a means for supporting and embracing the relationships that children share in alternative, relevant, and engaging ways. It enables everyone to develop new knowledge through the experience of observing any expressive form. So while I brought all these materials, if some of you, in terms of answering my question that I will pose in a bit, choose to do something that is not necessarily visual art or with paper, pencil, whatnot, you could choose to do something else, okay? And it lastly creates opportunities to more fully understand how children can be supported in realizing the potential they have for expressing empathy. So when I did my research, this was one part of my research, was engaging kids in art making. In other instances, I did informal interviews where I talked with children about what was empathy. What is it? What's it feel like? What's it look like? When do you express it? And I got answers like, I don't even know what empathy is. I don't know if I am empathic. No one has ever talked to me about it. So you might, come in and have this sense already that there is some innate ability of us to all be empathic, and that's absolutely true. But it's also learned. And the other thing that I found too was that it's actionable. Kids actually feel it, and they understand it if they've had similar circumstances that they see others experiencing as well. Okay? So, in terms of other implications for educational practice, in my own school, we talk a lot about empathy. We're actually a Roots of Empathy school. Hopefully, many of you know about that. But not only is that valuable for us, when I talk about empathy and I talk about the value of the roots of empathy within our school, we're fortunate that within 2 years we will have had roots of empathy in every one of our 12 classrooms, primary through 8th grade. So that's wonderful, and it's a wonderful program, but at the same time, that has to be part of our culture. It's not just roots of empathy time. It's, hey, what can we learn when we're in roots of empathy, and how can we then expand that? And how can we as adults go about promoting the connections and the relationships that we develop among one another and with our baby teacher when they're not there? Okay, so it can happen in the playground or on the playground, in the classroom, with same age and different age peers, in an instance where redirection is offered. Okay, so as I said, we're going to make some art, and then we'll reconvene. But when I did my research, there were several questions that I asked kids to reflect upon and create art. And I want to ask you one today. So we really don't have much time. I wish this session was a little bit longer, but it's okay. I want to know, what is empathy? What is your definition of empathy? And I want you to create an art piece, visual or otherwise, to describe that. It can be a social time. You can talk amongst your friends. I had hoped to have tables. We don't have tables, but we have plenty of empty chairs. We can move them. You can sit on the floor. There are tables out in the hallway. You're welcome to go there. As you come and collect your things, you will clear some space, and you certainly can sit here. We can move the podium, and we can utilize this table, whatever you'd like. But over the next 20 minutes, I'd love you to answer the question, what is empathy? You can come up. You can use anything you want. You can come multiple times. Don't move until I say go. Everybody ready? Go. Go. Great. Thanks. I've counted a couple times. I think there are about 30 people in here. I would love to have you divide up into groups of about 5 people. And I'd love you to get with people that you don't know. This is the connection and relationship part. Because we need to talk about our art. We need to talk about what we see. We need to talk about what we observe. And we need to hear also then from the artist so that we can grow in our connections and our understanding of one another. So that truly is what empathy is. Okay? So when I say go, can you rearrange yourselves into groups of 5 people? And then I'll give my first instruction. Okay? Go. Thank you. So what I want you to do in this instance, I don't want the artist talking at all. You simply show your group your work. And what I want the people in the group to do is to really go around and identify for the artist what you see. Literally, what do you see? I see this. I see that. I see that you used whatever. Okay? So let's do that. And then we'll do the next thing. So when you're done with that, then I'll give the next direction. Okay? Understand?
Yeah.
Great. Go for it. What are some things that you saw, some realizations that you had as you participated with your group and talked about the pieces of art that you saw? What are some of your thoughts? Not everybody at once, please. Okay. Yeah.
Something our group talked about is being aware of people's what they're going through.
Okay. Being aware of what people are going through? Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
We all used like symbolism, like brains or hearts or feeling. I used a tear.
Okay. So did you hear that in the back? Everybody used symbolism, brains, hearts, tears. Yeah. And how about then you as artists? What were you thinking about when you created your piece? What when I posed the question, what is empathy? Why'd you do the art you did?
Oh, okay. For me, I went back to my culture of like how I grew up as a Hawaiian.
Okay.
So there were 3 things that connected. It was basically your mind, your heart, and then there's this other place. Your na'au, your piko.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that it's innate. You just feel it.
Yeah.
It connects me.
Great. Great. Any others? Hey. Yeah.
Okay, so our member of our group opened with folding her paper,
Uh-huh.
kind of like origami style, and then it represented like, this is how I feel, but when you relate to me, it opens up. So maybe I'm not explaining it well. Could you mind me showing yours? Like this. And then it just shows her hands and her feet. So you need to be in the person's shoes. But look, when you start feeling it, you see the eyeballs. And then all the different emotions that someone could have if you're empathetic. And I learned that empathetic doesn't necessarily have to be always a negative, like I've gone through it, it's so bad, but empathetic could also be a positive feeling as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Who's proud of the work they did? Every? I'm sorry. No, you should. You should. The goal here, of course, was to explore empathy in your mind, but also to connect. And so my interest in breaking you up and separating you from the people that you perhaps spend days with, because you're colleagues or your friends or whatnot, is to strengthen connections that you have with others. And that's the goal. And that's one of the powers that I think I spoke of a little bit ago with regards to utilizing art as a means to help children express their ideas and express their feelings, and ultimately provides them with an ability to grow their capacity for feeling for one another and understanding what others are going through, even if they haven't necessarily gone through it themselves, which is another talk. But what questions do you have? I'm by no means an expert here and didn't come to identify that I was, but instead have some experience with this. Anybody have questions? Yeah.
So like I've heard, like nowadays there is a difference between empathy and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I wonder what your thoughts on that.
Let's see. My belief in the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy, for me, is a child understanding what someone else is feeling, whereas compassion is, that's an interesting question. I didn't look at compassion. For me, let's see, if I think about compassion, it's not necessarily, I don't think it's the same. I think maybe the best way I could explain it, when I looked at empathy in children, I said a little bit ago, and maybe I just said it to one, but empathy is not only innate, it can be learned, but it's also, there's something physiological that I found in working with children about empathy. They feel it, whereas compassion, I suppose that could be felt as well. But to be compassionate is to, I think, be caring, but to be empathic is to really understand and to support someone in instances where they need it, whether positive or negative. Does that make sense? Does it sound good to people? I don't know. You tell me. Anybody have something to add? Do you want to add something, Brenda?
I think, and we talked about that, this and that group, is that when we think about empathy, and that's where we talk about empathic joy, you can feel empathic joy with someone. So it's the contagious of emotions. When you can feel happy with someone, you can feel sad with someone, you can feel angry with someone. But compassion is more when you're not taking the perspective of that person. It's basically you're feeling, and it's not all the joy and everything. It's more feeling sorry for you. It's when you feel sorry for someone. And I think empathy leads to action because you really feel inside what it would feel like to be that person. It leads you to want to help. Where compassion, you just go, oh, that's sad. There's like some people I walked by the street the other night and I thought, oh, that's kind of sad. Is that compassion or is that empathy? Because I haven't taken their perspective.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? No? Yeah.
Do you have any children's books, or what are your favorite teaching tools, children's books, or anything that really speak to teaching empathy, especially for young children?
Gosh, I can't think off the top of my head about children's books. I know someone that can. I love Mary Gordon's book, The Roots of Empathy. But the other book that I really love, and I have it here, is The Having of Wonderful Ideas and Other Essays on Teaching and Learning by Eleanor Duckworth. I think in terms of a professional or even a person working to support empathy and care in children, I think this is a really terrific book. Just because it identifies and can affirm our belief in what's possible. So it's a really great work. I also identified my dissertation there. If someone wanted to go in and look at that and learn more about my specific work, you're welcome to do that. My email address is there too if you want to connect. But yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Besides art, do you do anything else in your classes to encourage showing empathy?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was talking to this lady that came in while you guys were in your groups. And I said it earlier, I think that, doing specific programs and doing specific activities that promote empathy and promote care are important to do. But I think ultimately the culture of a school needs to promote that. So, I have, and I take advantage of a lot of opportunities to sit with kids. Oftentimes my teachers say, oh, you don't have time for that. But I do have time for that. I want to have time for that. I think a lot of the students in my school, or certainly ones that have come to me when they have issues, trust me. And so, it's that opportunity to connect. It's that opportunity to know that somebody cares. I've appreciated today. Again, I said I went to trauma. The talk on trauma today. And one of the statistics he threw out was that in surveying his students, over 50% of his high school students said that they had no one to talk to if they had trouble. And that's a shame. And he said that too. And I don't want kids at my school, whether toddlers or 8th graders, to think that they have no one to talk to. And so, when I take advantage of those opportunities, I go into classrooms, I talk to kids all the time. We're on a first name basis. It doesn't have to be on a first name basis, but we are. But, I want to empower them, to let them know that they are in control of them. That's what I expect. That's the conversation I have with even a 3-year-old that maybe is having some issues with self-regulation. Who's in control of you? Well, my mom or you or no. First and foremost, you are. And so it's forming those connections and knowing that I care and that I'm going to hold you accountable to what I believe you're capable of accomplishing. The other thing we talked a little bit about when she came in was, opportunities for kids to engage. So, kids can engage in artwork. Kids can go to the Peace Corner. Kids can, grab the Peace Rose or the Peace Stone or whatever and pass it and share. And, really providing them an opportunity in the space to share their feelings so that the victim, if you will, can identify for the victimizer how what they chose to do impacted them. And the idea there is that it provides the opportunity for the victimizer to take responsibility for his or her actions. I'm not a sorry person. I don't like hearing kids say sorry. I think it's an easy way out. I think in many instances, or at least perhaps it's an older way of, well, that's what you need to do when you've done something wrong. But it eliminates the need for a child to take responsibility and understand why what they did was harmful. And so, my approach in that instance is ultimately having the victimizer identify something with the help of the victim that they can do to make it better. Had a conversation in my office just the other week. Child was thrown down at recess, hurt his wrist, was in getting ice, talked about it. Oh, Billy threw me down and hurt me. Well, where's Billy? Oh, well, Billy's in class. Oh, well, let's get Billy, And so Billy came down. I'm using fake names, okay, just to protect the innocent. Billy came down, and, the idea was, hey, Billy, you could have come with Bobby to get ice to help him feel better. And in the end, the conversation, came to, you should probably ask, I'm forgetting my names now, Billy. Who's the victim? I forget. You should probably ask Billy, Bobby, what you could do to help him. Can I do anything to help you? No, you can't. Billy, how you feeling? Okay. What do you need? Him to say sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. And so Billy said, sorry, how you feeling now? Great. Okay, Billy, go away. Hang on, Bobby, I've got to talk to you. Why does that make you, he's so conditioned to hear the word sorry that it eliminates the need for that child to take any responsibility for their actions. So, I don't know. I think to answer your question quickly, it's to engage in conversations and hold kids accountable, but teach them why that's important, I think. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that the idea of saying sorry is a negative thing. I feel like it is something that we do as a culture. But I don't think we ever teach students to say, I forgive you. And that is this whole process that even as adults we need to learn that just kind of releases the pain of it, you did this to me, but I choose to forgive you.
Yeah. That's true. There's, I don't know if anyone's heard of the Greater Good Science Center out of Berkeley, California. Some really good research there about forgiveness. If anyone ever has an opportunity to take one of their summer teacher institutes, I highly encourage you to do that. There are scholarships available and whatnot. I don't work for them. It's the Greater Good Science Center out of Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley. It's a summer teachers institute, I think. Really good work. Really good work there. Any other questions? I'm sorry I couldn't answer your question about children's books. If anyone can, please raise your hand and let this kind woman come see you. I do have some in my head, but I can't think of them off the top of it. Sorry. Okay. Anybody other questions? No? I appreciate the dialogue, and I appreciate your willingness to create art and providing a safe space for you to do it in. Thanks very much. Thanks.